Hi, this is Dr. Michelle Robin with Small Changes, Big Shifts, Building Rhythm and Resilience. And I believe if you'll change one thing a month, one thing for the next 12 months, you'll change your life forever. Thanks for joining me on the journey. Hey, everybody. Gosh, it's Wednesday again. So Wisdom Wednesdays here on Small Changes, Big Shifts, Building Rhythm and Resilience. I'm curious what's good in your world today. I remember being with Paul Long a few weeks ago. Hopefully you caught that interview. By the way, Paul, happy birthday. And one of his taglines is what's good. And so as we're thinking about all the crazy uncertainty, I want you to think about what is certain in your life and what's working for you today. And if we can focus on that, maybe it won't get rid of the uncertainty, because I'm sure that's weighing heavy on a lot of us, but at least it won't be in the front seat. So put the uncertainty in the back seat, drive it around a little bit, but put in the uncertainty seat so you know where you're heading. So today on Small Changes, Big Shifts, I'm delighted to have my friend Jessica Blubaugh with me. You know, I have several charities that I love to support, but I have my top 2 and 3, and Win for Casey is by far my favorite. And yes, I did actually acknowledge that. Well, okay, I got to give Big Shifts Foundation. You know, that actually is my favorite, but my close second favorite, because it actually really all ties in together. I like this. This has been the analogy I've been using the past few weeks, and I'm not sure where it came from, but I think about how everything waffles together. And so, I love Win for Casey, love Jessica. We met several years ago, but today we're going to talk about the TRY-athlon that's coming up. Jessica began her career with Win for Casey as an intern, get that, as an intern 11 years ago. Since then, Jessica worked for the Kansas Sports Commission, followed by the Women's Sports Foundation in New York and Atlanta, so she's a big deal. Afterwards, she transitioned to Teach for America as Senior Marketing Director. Jessica then became the Director of Partnerships and Events for Visit KC, and it came full circle as the Director of Win for Casey now, 11 years from prior. She spent 15 years in nonprofit center and worked with great athletes such as Billie Jean King and Michelle Kwan and many others. So hey Jess, before we get started, I had the privilege of hanging out with you and Brenda Van Lingy and Patty Phillips through McGowan Gordon Construction's Women's Speaker Series. Wow, was that a fun day?
It was a fun day. It was a fun way to get the crew back together. I think either Brenda or Patty said, like, got the band back together, which I felt like it was a little bit. Yeah, it was a fun day.
Well, it was a fun day. It feels like 5,000 years ago, and I think it was just in February. Does that sound right?
That's right. Yeah, it does feel like eons ago. Time is weird now.
Well, when we were coming together, and I'm going to get to the script, maybe not. That's how we kind of roll here. But we were chatting, and that day you guys were actually coming together because the Big 12 was coming to Kansas City, not just the men's, but the women's. Talk a little bit about the buildup. We were talking about that probably 6 months prior, probably you longer, but I know I was in the conversation about 6 months, and then the letdown. And we had Kathy Nelson, who's the Director of Sports Commission, on our Rhythm and Resilience series. So she talked a little bit about making the decision to pull the Big 12. But talk about it from a leader perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so we started the process of planning with the Big 12 like probably 18 months prior to event day. And I've been doing events for 17 years, and it was maybe the first and only time that we have gotten that far, like basically to the starting line, like people standing outside the venue ready to go in for the tournament to start, and having to pull the plug. And so I think it's, a testament to both the events world in general, where you have to be sort of nimble and flexible and adaptable to change. But also in that moment, really thinking about like what is most important. And then I think, facing a national and at that point global pandemic was like, this is the first time for many of us. And how do we make sure that even though we're going to, experience some pretty significant financial hardship after this as a city and a community and as an organization, how do we do what's right for the community? And so that piece of it, I think, was a no-brainer. But what it actually looked like to sort of walk back a decision-making process of, okay, we're going to stop it. We're going to hold off and only let people in at a certain time, to no, we're just pulling the plug on the whole thing. That was an exercise in flexibility and being able to just adapt, second by second.
Flexibility. How have you stayed positive during this? Officially, we're about 100 and I think 13 days, and maybe not, someplace around 113 days into COVID-19. How do you stay positive?
I think I do a few different things. I mean, first and foremost, I try to stay active, because for me, that really helps me. I can feel physiologically in my body when I'm not releasing stress in the way that I should, and that buildup feels like tension, and it manifests itself in different ways. So I try to stay as active as I can throughout the week, and then also just sort of, because I think it's easy to let ourselves get into sort of that cipher of negativity. We have a lot going on as a country right now, and so not getting caught in the spin of what can be just negative message after negative message, and really trying to stay grounded in, we're all on some level experiencing at least part of what this country is experiencing right now from a pandemic perspective together, and we've never had to do that before. And so there isn't a blueprint, and so not having an answer all the time is okay, and really trying to keep as centered and focused on the here and now as possible. And then I think also, like, I came across this meme on Instagram, and I wrote it on a Post-it and stuck it on my office wall here. So I look at, it's the one about like canceling 2020, and what if we didn't cancel 2020? What if it's the year we actually have been needing and wanting and waiting for? I read that daily, because I think that is a good reminder of, yeah, what we're going through is really hard and really painful right now on a lot of levels, but it's necessary.
Well, by the way, would you send me that? Because I don't have my quote for today yet, but I feel like that's the right one. So if
Yeah,
you send that
totally.
to me, I'll be happy to put my own spin on that. Speaking of quotes, well, two thoughts there that I want to go with. One is I want to give a shout out to Carol Phillips, one of my, Dr. Carol Phillips, one of my mentors. And we've talked about this on the show, and I'm probably going to say this maybe every week or every other week as we go through the rest of 2020. It's kind of like, we're kind of in a birth. We're in a birth right now. And whenever you have a baby, there's a lot of contractions. And it's painful, and you might be not saying some pleasant things to your significant other during that time. So we're in a rebirthing, and Jessica, I feel what you said, that 2020 is the year that we maybe dreaded, but we need, and 2021, 2022, as we get back on track for our future generations, which is what our foundation, Big Shifts Foundation, is about. So there's that. But let's talk about quotes, because I'm a quote nerd, because I have to feed in the good, because otherwise the negative takes over. I'm a little bit of I'm not a pessimistic, but I'm also a realistic, and I could be a little bit fear-based, or a lot fear-based. So I have to really work at it, else I could go down the rabbit hole pretty fast. So you guys did something fun at your house, you and Julie. Talk about what you did. And I think are you done posting your little quotes?
We took a break. Yeah, we took it. So we started the Monday after the quarantine started. We started, we have a chalkboard. The event guru in me has a chalkboard that we use for our personal events. And so we started just putting that on the front porch, and feeling like that was a way to connect with our neighbors and the people in our community here, right in our local neighborhood. But then I just started taking pictures of them and putting them up on social media, just to share with the broader community. And, we picked a quote basically every day that was really focused in positivity. And sometimes it was about hope, and sometimes it was about connection, and sometimes it was about love. And really just trying to serve as a daily reminder for people. It was a fascinating exercise, because when we came out of the quarantine time, I took it down. We were just like, let's take a break. So I had several people walk by and be like, where's the chalkboard? We walk by or ride our bikes by here every day to see it. So it's going to make a return. It just hasn't yet.
Well, you just don't know the little ripple effect you're having. And some people are paying attention, yet they're not commenting. And so you just think it doesn't matter. And so I want to tell you, it does matter. And those little things make a huge difference. So on this show, Small Changes, Big Shifts, which you've been a guest before, we celebrate, guide, connect, which provide hope. So we're celebrating you, we're celebrating your team, we're celebrating Win for KC. It's hard to believe, I started doing the triathlons in 2007. I believe the first one was in 2006 for you guys.
I think the first one was in 2006, but we weren't affiliated with it yet. So we didn't step into it until 07 and 08.
Well, I'm happy to say that I've been a paid participant on all of them. One year I took a little break about 5 years ago, did my own triathlon with some crutches and a wheelchair and a cane. But that was interesting. So let's talk about the triathlon and why you guys got involved in that space, and talk a little about Win for KC.
Sure. So, I think just to start with Win, so the crux of our mission is to empower the lives of girls and women through sports and fitness. That's the short version of it. And so that manifests itself in a variety of different ways, from camps for girls where they're doing 14 sports in 4 days, to a triathlon and duathlon experience for women that want to take their first sort of step into the tri world. And maybe provide something new for them to do. And then a whole cadre of other things that we've done and do throughout the year. So I think that's the foundation, right? In the face of COVID, all of that looks really different. And so, we came to we did the dance that I think a lot of endurance events owners did the early part of the spring, where it was like, okay, let's watch this. Let's see how much it changes. Let's see how long we can put off not canceling the in-person event. And ultimately came to the decision in May that it was just the better choice to not risk putting people at risk, and really without a guarantee of being able to say what is and is not safe, and what could guarantee safety. It was like the better decision, more responsible decision we felt for us was to cancel the in-person event and pivot it to a virtual experience. And so we really tried to focus, because the essence of the triathlon is really geared toward beginner triathletes. And there are athletes like you who have done it year over year, which is awesome. But we also have like 30% of the participants who've never done a tri before. So really trying to make sure that we were providing an experience virtually that was still encouraging people to go out and train and do something maybe they had never done before, but could do so on their own time, on their own pace, at their own comfort level, with the people in their immediate family, maybe their friend group, maybe their neighborhood, depending on, what steps they're taking to be cautious and safe around COVID. So that's really where we landed on the triathlon piece. And because we really felt like the pivot to the TRY piece was really anchored too in the space of, people don't necessarily have access to water to do the swim portion of things right now. So if they can't go do an open swim at a lake or a park, or they don't have access to a swimming pool, how could we still encourage people to do something that is sort of 3 parts, and maybe pushes them even to try something new that they would have never even done before. So we really thought it would be an easy pivot for those people who were already training for the tri to say, yep, you can still do the run and the bike piece of it. But now if you want to do the swim and you have access to water, awesome. And if you don't, then fill in that third hole with something else that gives you the opportunity to try something maybe you've not done, or maybe you're a big yoga fan and you have the opportunity to do yoga instead. So that was the trajectory of that decision-making process.
Well, I like it. I even think you said you could do pickleball or tennis or walking or whatever, maybe basketball, whatever. Can you do basketball probably?
Yeah, you can. But we basically said you can do anything as long as it means your heart rate is elevated and that you're, up and moving. Essentially, like knitting wouldn't count. That's an activity, but it's not going to get your heart rate up. So anything with a ball, anything that gets your heart rate up above a resting heart rate counts. And so, Julie and I are probably going to do the run, bike, yoga or HIIT version of it. So a high intensity interval training workout for those of you who don't know what HIIT is, but that's probably the route that we're going to take. And I myself have never done a triathlon, so it'll be my first.
Well, you could also do jump rope. I just
That's
was thinking,
right.
you could
That's
jump
right.
rope. You could, yeah, anything to get your heart rate. So talk about why sports are so important.
I mean, I think there's the obvious, right? That is the physical aspect of it, that it's good for our bodies, and our all of our, internal and external parts of our bodies. But it's also that mental capacity piece of it too. It is such a uh, stress reliever and confidence builder. And when we're talking about the experience that people have both in individual sports but also team sports, it builds skills in girls and women that can be applied so far outside of just what that moment of that activity is, like grit and resilience and teamwork and leadership, and those things can all be built either in a team environment or on an individual basis, but they're absolutely things that benefit us, far beyond that 30 minutes or hour or 2 hours of activity that we're doing it.
Well, I'm going to air quotes. I only have one hand because I have a special guest today.
I saw that.
I'm with my little grandson. This is Salvador Dash. Hi, buddy. And he wanted to be held. He was going to bark at me, so I had to hold him. Thank you for the kisses. And he's going to be 4. He is 4, and he's named after actually a WIN board member. You may not know this. The D is for Denise Henning. So he is Salvador Dash. Anyhow, that's Salvi. He's hanging out with me. So if you see me rocking, I'm rocking my little grandson. He's hanging out with me this afternoon. Okay, so when you think about, I'm air quoting with one hand, motion is lotion from my, and the reason I'm air quoting is I have a yoga instructor, longtime friend of mine, Lisa Yule. And when I say yoga instructor, I maybe see her about 6 times a year. So I think I really shouldn't say yoga instructor, but I see her for yoga. And she says, motion is lotion. And I say that every single day, motion is lotion. So I love that with the sports we're doing. So how have you pivoted with the girls? Because so much of the work that Win for Casey stands for is these young women. What type of virtual events have you done? And what type of events can our listeners plug into with their daughters this year? If they had this summer.
So I think the biggest one that we've done and that we had to pull together on a pretty fast timeline was pivoting our Camp Win experience to a virtual experience. So what was normally a 4-day experience that we offered 3 different times throughout the month of June, we pivoted to be something that a kiddo could experience for 4 weeks over the course of the month of June. And honestly, they could sign up now still to do it through month of July as well. But really we have a curriculum that we execute there called Live Active, that's all anchored around theme words that theme every session. So the theme words were things like leadership, dream big, I think resilience was one of them, and now I'm going to forget the 4th one. But they basically got a camp, the Live Active booklet. They got an activity log, an activity booklet that guided them with things to do throughout the week and throughout each of the sessions. So, and then on top of that, we delivered basically digital content to them via email to the parent or guardian or whomever signed them up, that had recorded videos for them to do physical activity each day. And it was a big lift. I mean, it was a big pivot. Normally we have a whole team of amazing volunteer coaches and instructors who come out and provide their instruction on their particular activity. So we had about 3.5 weeks to pull that all together and get it packaged and get our logistics in order. And so that's what we're doing and have been doing for the last month, and have been fortunate enough to be able to do that with some folks across the metro and partner with some of our favorite community partners like Operation Breakthrough and Girls Preparatory Academy and some of those folks. So, we also made the pivot too, given that we were doing this at home, to expand it to boys in this particular instance, because we felt like, well, if there was a kiddo at Operation Breakthrough who was going to experience it, why not let the boys that are experiencing the loss of their planned activities for the summer also benefit from it, because they can experience and benefit from the lessons to be learned just like girls can. So that was kind of the biggest change, and for what it looks like for the rest of the fall, we're still working on that. I think the delicate balance that we're in right now is, how do we continue to serve our mission but also do so from a financially not only responsible, but very cautionary way. Our events are a primary source of our income. And so not being able to do them in the typical fashion that we do them means a significant impact to the bottom line of the organization. So we're trying to walk that balance between what can we offer through the rest of the year that is in alignment with what we should and could be doing, and also making sure that we're being as tight as we possibly can with any expenditures that we see coming.
Well, we started this conversation around the Big 12 and having to pivot and turn people away at the door when you have a pretty much sold out crowd. And we're talking about pivoting again. We had to go from offering in person to virtual, which you guys have done an outstanding job. And if people want to sign up for the Live Active, there's still time, as you said, they can do that. How do they do that? Where do they go to do that?
Yep, if they go to our winforkc.org, and then Camp Win at Home is the link for that one, and that's where kids can sign up. It's a 4-week curriculum. You'll get a kit in the mail that has some fun items like a Royals hat and a cooler bag and some other fun things, but then also has your physical books. And then you'll get a series of emails over the course of the following weeks that you sign up that you can participate. So winforkc.org/campwinathome.
And I'm guessing if some people are feeling like they are inspired to donate, you guys probably take donations at that same website with the donate button?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting. How do you, I remember listening to John O'Leary, and he's also been on this podcast and Rhythm and Resilience series that we did. He was our kickoff in April, I think April 6th or 9th, Eleanor may know. But one thing I remember reading on John's story, he talked about years ago, there was something going on in the world, maybe right after 9/11, and his grandfather, he said to his grandfather, "Why are you spending money right now? Because we've got to be conservative because, and he said, you know what, I've got to spend money because I need to keep the economy going."
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm not encouraging anybody to go in debt, but if you have an extra $5, $10, $50, $5,000, and you want to be called to an organization to share it with, Win for KC is worthy of your dollars for sure, especially if you are inspired by sports and all the work they do in the city, whether it's with the Royals or the Chiefs, our Super Bowl champions. Thank goodness the Super Bowl happened in January, not in March. Holy moly. Patrick Mahomes might not have gotten the deal he just got, right?
That's right.
So we're gonna talk about guidance, Jess. So you've got this Live Active program. What other guidance do you have for our listeners around moving, especially trying to do it safely during COVID times?
Sure. I mean, I think that is something that we're trying to keep a regular eye on as it relates to the guidance that's coming out from all of the various health organizations in terms of what is safe. And I think the thing that has been a constant throughout all of this is that if you're outside and you are socially distancing at a minimum of 6 feet, then you're safer to do that. And I think that's something that we've really been focused on as it relates to any type of in-person event we might try to do. So Shift obviously is the one event that we're looking at continuing to plan to do in person in the fall. And I think that is the piece that I keep looking at in terms of, if we know we can be outside and we can do so at a safe distance, then there is no reason we can't be outside being physically active. Now, what size the gathering should be, I think, is something that's continuing to ebb and flow in terms of how many people should be in a space together. And that's something we're continuing to take guidance on from, the CDC to the local health department to any number of other, international and national organizations. But I think as individuals, we all have the freedom and ability to make choices about how we're spending our time in all of this. And I think, to the point you made earlier, I think it's really easy for all of us to get sucked into that negative voice and that negativity that can be swirling when we're consuming any number of messages that are flying at us at any given time. And so how do we manage that? And I think that piece of being able to still maintain physical activity is really important, and something we should be taking advantage of while the weather's warm, because it might look different this winter.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I go across two things. First, I was saying I'm so grateful that it's in the spring so I could be outside, because I was training for a triathlon like I do every year, And the other side was, well, if it was in January and February, they wouldn't mind staying in. So it's kind of as always, there's two sides to the coin, right?
Absolutely.
Faith, fear, love, hate, all kinds of madness like that. Speaking of love, hate, this whole mask thing. And I would be remiss if I did not actually bring up wearing a mask. And I have a lot of colleagues, I'm a funny person. I live on this bridge between holistic medicine and traditional medicine. And so I get it. I hear both sides, and I'm not here to debate. And if you ask me to put stuff in my body, that's different. Could I put a mask on? And yes, I'm wearing a mask, and I believe that's probably in our best interests overall. And I know some colleagues will not appreciate that statement. COVID is getting closer and closer and closer to home. I talk to a client every day that has somebody. I have a client that had 9 family members get it, and some of them died. I talked to a client right before this call and got off the call at 12:27, Jess, to get on the call with you. And their family lives in Olathe and has 5 or 6 family members with COVID. So this is real, and you can debate how to get here and all that stuff, but the deal is it's here. And so what do we do with this? So I do think one of the best things, and we've heard about it through some of the stories going, I would hate to say research right now, because I don't think we're in the research mode of COVID with what's working and not working, but we do believe motion helps. So get out and move the best you can. I think it's a good time to get some fresh air. Jess, I want to talk a little bit about your youth advisory board. My favorite, and I love most people, but I really am inspired by the under 30 crowd, because I really think that's where we can make a big old change in the health and wellness habits. It's kind of like taking care of your teeth. If you decide to take care of your teeth when you're 60 years old, you can make changes, but when you start when you're 5 and 10 and 20 or 30, before they really start rotting, you can actually make more long-term changes. So that's my jam. I know it's part of your jam. Talk about the Win for Casey's Youth Advisory Board.
Sure. So thank you for bringing this up, because it's near and dear to my heart, because it's something we launched when I worked here 16 years ago. So it's essentially a group of high school students from across the metro area that they don't have to be involved in sports to be involved in the program, but it's a professional development opportunity for them, where they get together and we focus on certain topics like leadership development, soft skills development, resume building, to a little bit of life coaching, and then providing them some encouragement along the way. And then what we get in return from that is we have a group of people, a group of women, young women across the metro, who are a sounding board for us, where we can get input and insight from them on guidance around what we can and should be doing. And it's a year-round opportunity. So basically, once they're accepted onto the program, and applications are open right now, and they're due at the end of this month. So once they're accepted, they're on throughout the duration of their high school experience. And they get the opportunity to know a bunch of different women from across the area that they may not have otherwise crossed paths with, which I think is the other beautiful part of it, is that, there's roughly 40 women that are a part of this group that go from everywhere to the south part of Johnson County, to the Northland, to east side of Casey Mo, to Wyandotte County. And I think that is a really important piece, where we're crossing connections amongst kids, and letting them build their own connections and relationships across the metro with people maybe they never would have met before. So that's a fun thing that comes out of it.
In what age?
They can be anywhere from freshmen all the way to the seniors. So
okay, so for those parents out there looking for something great for your daughter to get involved with, what a rock star opportunity right here. And you can once again go to Win for KC, and not only can you donate, sign your other kids up for the Live Active, you can also have your daughter apply for this advisory board. What a great group of people. And what I love about it, and once again, hitting all the hot buttons today, masks, we're going to talk a little bit about the diversity. Mm-hmm. And one thing we know about sports is it typically has been a very diverse experience. You may not know this, Jess. I know I'm short, but I played basketball in high school and junior college. Played's a strong word, but I was 6th or 7th and sat the bench a little bit. But I had a good attitude. That's what my coach said. We got you because you have a good attitude and you're a hard worker. But it helped me have a very diverse background. Talk a little about the diversity around Win for KC and some of your initiative to get into the inner city.
Well, I think we've made some steps in the right direction to make sure that we're offering opportunities for girls all over the metro to experience the events and programs that we're offering. But I think we have a long way to go. I think that for a long time, we have allowed logistics and cost to stand in the way of enabling us to figure out solutions around how we can make everything that we're doing available to everybody, regardless of what the cost to entry is. So I think that we have made some steps in the right directions over the last few years. We moved camp, a week of camp that was happening at one of the private schools in town as a location to the east side of Kansas City, Missouri, and partnered with KCPS and increased our scholarships amounts that we're doling out to kids who can't otherwise afford to come. But I think that those are good steps in the right direction, but we still have a lot of work to do.
We all do, don't we?
That's right.
Because Black Lives Matter.
Absolutely. And I think like that to me, just in line with, the exercise that we need to physically do as humans in terms of working out our body. I think the work around breaking down systemic racism and supporting the Black community and kids in the Black community is a muscle that we have to work out every day. And it's something that we have to work at and hard at every single day in order to make progress.
So Jess, I'm going to go back to Live Active. How much does it cost for a kid to do Live Active?
So it's the Camp Win at Home experience is $100. And so that gets them basically all of the goodies that come in the physical experience and then covers our administrative costs. And some of that then goes to the bottom line of our budget to be able to help fund the rest of what we do for the rest of the year.
So if you have a kid and the $100 is a barrier for you, I'm going to sponsor 2 kids to do that Live Active camp. You need to direct message me on social media or send me an email. And if I have more than 2 people, we'll just pick a drawing or we'll figure out how to get more. But I'm personally going to sponsor 2. So Jessica, I'm going to ask you this question. I don't think I've asked anybody this question. And as you know, I've been doing an interview at least once a week for the last 7 years. I've missed 2 episodes. One is the week of my accident, June 29th and 2015. And I replayed an episode around Christmas for my favorite, one of my favorite authors of all time, Paul from the book Shack. I can't think of his last name right now because my brain's just left me. I got to go exercise. But if you could close your eyes and you could imagine we are 18 months forward. So now we're actually preparing for the triathlon. Actually, we're preparing for the luncheon. That would be 18 months. We're preparing for the luncheon in 2022. Mm-hmm. What do you think we'll be talking about?
Well, I mean, I hope we're talking about COVID behind us and that we have, a vaccination that is helping to prevent the spread of this disease. I hope we're talking about real change that has come from the reawakening, what I hope is a reawakening around racial inequity and racism in our country. I hope that we're looking at some real work that has been done for us as individuals and us as organizations and institutions, that we're not looking back on this and saying, oh yeah, we had really good momentum for a few months and then it was just talk. So that's what I hope. I hope we can look back in this and say the great pause was exactly what we all needed because it gave us the space and the attention to put toward what really, really needed to happen for all of us.
The great pause. Yes. P for pause, pivot, positive, people. Jess, got a couple more questions for you as we start to wrap up. So, hey, if you have a question on Facebook, feel free to share that and Eleanor will get it to us here on Zoom. And by the way, we're going to be getting to StreamYard as soon as I figure it out. So it's coming. I just haven't invested the effort totally, but to my team who's done all the work, I'm getting there. Jess, what's your medicine? What's the medicine you share with the world?
I mean, I try to be positive. I try to be a joyful person. And I think I also try to bring like a spirit of authenticity to everything that I do, that it's not, not always trying to couch things, that I can just be real and be honest. And maybe that means that I'm saying things that are unpopular sometimes, but that are direct and clear. That's what I try to live by every day.
Well, I'm a little bit of a people pleaser, so I really don't like confrontation. So for me to say, put your mask on, Black Lives Matter, I do believe all that in my soul. I really, but I'm not quite as transparent as you are. So thanks for being that person. We talked about the triathlon. We talked about Live Active, where we're going to give away, I'm going to give away 2 sponsorships of that. It's $100 for your daughters or your son, your daughter or your son. I want to talk about the Triathlon one more time. Just give us high level where they can sign up, how much it costs, etc.
Yep. So it's winforkc.org/triathlon, athlon, whatever. I'll mess up the spelling. But yeah, so you can go to the website and sign up there. It's $20. And you get a finisher medal. If you submit your finishing times and your activity, you get a finisher medal, a t-shirt, water bottle, and then just the experience of knowing that you did this, and that you challenged yourself to do something while we were in all of this weird pause that we're in right now for the inability to do the in-person stuff. And it's just another way to motivate yourself to stay active. I know I'm getting bored with doing YouTube workout videos. So doing something a little different.
Well, without a doubt. And hey, I'm giving away 10 spots to that too. You just have to direct message me, join me. Once again, it's $20. Hey, and if you feel like you got the $20, maybe you have 20 to sponsor a friend. Let's really help this. Let's help people get this motion for this time of year so they stay active. Jess, it's been fun celebrating you and Win for KC today. I appreciate all your guidance. I appreciate the connections you're giving us. And you talked about the advisory girls and that connection of across county lines, across city lines, across community lines, which help build diversity and inclusion. So I celebrate the work you're doing that. And you gave us hope. You know, you talked about being positive and giving hope. And so I want to remind our listeners that you've got the Live Active giveaway. You've got the TRY-athlon giveaway. Those will be in the show notes for you as well. So Jess, what did I not cover that you really feel like you need to share today?
I think the thing that I keep coming back to, particularly right now, is that connection is super important for us as humans. I think that we can do this Zoom stuff all day long, but we as human beings still need to connect with each other. And there are lots of ways we can do that. And it's picking up the phone, or it's going and having a socially distanced conversation somewhere. But I think now especially, we need to double down on connecting with each other and connecting with ourselves.
Well, I'm glad you threw selves in there. You know, Your Wellness Connection is the name of my practice. And back in 1998, when I used to be called, you may not know this story, Jess, it used to be called Robin Chiropractic and Acupuncture Center.
Oh, I did not know that.
That was my name from 92 to 2001. And we added a tagline in 1998 called Your Wellness Connection. How do we help people reconnect or connect with resources like Win for KC or a doctor? Someone reached out to me today and they need a doctor to help me get off a medication. So I'm reaching out to my network. You know, we have this group called the Wellness Consortium, where there's several providers from around the city where we come together to help each other build, connect, support. So we'll be doing that tonight, by the way. And if you're a provider, I'd encourage you to click the link that Eleanor put on the Facebook page and join us tonight. We have Britt Frank. I'll be talking with Britt Frank tonight, and she's got a lot of great ideas, especially talking about how do you manage some of the anxiety of what's going on in today's time. She is a rock star, without a doubt. I'm so grateful that you took time to join me on this episode of Small Changes, Big Shifts. Jess, I appreciate you. I can honestly say I love your heart. I'm so grateful that we get to share this journey together.
Likewise. Thanks for having me. Thanks for supporting Win for KC. Love you too.
Okay, we're going to end the show. Here we go. But here's the last thing. You have a quote you want to share?
Yeah, I do actually. It is, hold on, I have to pull it up because I want to get it right. I had it ready to go and my phone locked. It's one from our message board. If you think you are too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. The Dalai Lama said that, and I feel like that is so apropos.
Yeah, you never know that one text, that one phone call, that one note you write in the mail. It could be a prayer that no one knows you're even doing, but how it impacts the energy of the world. So go do your part. Whatever is your gift, whether it is sharing a quote, whether it is sharing that text, whether it's sharing food. I'm not good at cooking food. I always say I'm not great at being the person who takes you to chemotherapy, even though I think about 5 years ago how people had to drive me everywhere. And a shout out to the two Cindys in my life, Cindy Curry and Cindy Reynolds. And took me to a lot of places. My friend Gail took me to the Women Who Means Business this month. So this is a very heartwarming month for me to think about the people that showed up for me in so many different ways. So show up however is best for you. I'm going to end with a quote by Billie Jean King. I actually have two. And this one makes me think about being a leader of an organization, which I know you'll get. Pressure is a privilege. It only comes to those who earn it. And Billie said that when she was here, when Win for Casey hosted her in Kansas City. What a great event. And the second one, which I think is really prevalent in today's times, and I'm sure another King said something like this, Martin Luther King, but I'm going to quote Billie Jean King since you have a relationship with her. Reputation is what others think about you. What's far more important is character, because that is what you think about yourself. So go out, build your character today. And I know for me, I'm going to put this cute little puppy down. I've been holding him the whole time. My little dog, Salvador Dash, Salvi, my grand dog. And I'm going to go out and do my training, go run to a pool and swim and then come back because I'm training for a triathlon. Who's joining me? All right. Have a great day. I'll see you next week. Blessings to all of you. I sure appreciate you listening to Small Changes, Big Shifts. If you go to the website, smallchangesbigshifts.com, we'll have the show notes ready for you there. If this episode inspired you to make a small change that will lead to a big shift, please share with a friend. You can catch our episode on Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and our website. And if you feel like it, please leave a rating or a comment. Be sure to subscribe so you can catch our episode next week. Blessings to you.